Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Dominic Mills Podcast. We are back after a long time away, and we have a lot of new stuff coming your way. There are going to be some major changes coming to the show in the next few months. I don't want to spoil anything, but make sure, if you haven't already, you follow the show and turn on your notifications, because I've spent the whole summer retooling, reimagining things to give you guys a better show. Today, we've got a packed show for you. We go into the recent claims that aliens have been discovered in Mexico, what it really means to be world champs, and I'm also joined by what might be the youngest head coach in the history of Leon County basketball. My good friend Eli Phillips joins the show to discuss his life and his first season as the head honcho. All of that and more next. But first, let's blast that intro. If you are a person who believes in aliens, this has been the summer for you. Officials in July testified to U.S. Congress that we have found what was described as non-human biologics and recovered craft. And just this past week, 2 specimens alleged to be the remains of aliens were presented before Mexican Congress. UFO scientist, writer, and TV host Jaime Maussan testified under oath that the 2 shriveled gray bodies with 3 fingers on each hand, which slightly resemble what we have always been told aliens look like, are quote-unquote non-human beings that are not part of our terrestrial evolution and are apparently over 1,000 years old. Now, these pictures are quickly becoming viral around social media, but these claims are less than a week old and they are already being strongly challenged. For one, this isn't the first time Maussan has claimed to have discovered alien bodies. It isn't even his first time claiming to have discovered bodies in this region. In 2015, he revealed a body he claimed belonged to an alien, which was later shown to be the remains of a human child. Then, 2 years later, he was involved in a video project also claiming that specimens uncovered with elongated skulls and 3 fingers were extraterrestrial. Archaeologists then said those were also human beings of human children and animals that had been mutilated to look extraterrestrial. I will include a link to the video from Scientists Against Myths, which debunked this a few years ago. Maussan claimed researchers at the National Autonomous University of Mexico used carbon dating to determine the remains are about 1,000 years old. Yet the scientists at the university have distanced themselves from his testimony, saying they were not involved in the collection of the sample and they did not come in contact with the specimens, saying, quote-unquote, in no case do we make conclusions about the origin of these samples. Now, Ryan Graves, one of the military officials who spoke about his encounters with UAPs in front of U.S. Congress in July, also was there to testify in front of Mexico's Congress, but he later condemned the proceedings, saying, After the U.S. congressional UFO hearing, I accepted an invitation to testify before the Mexican Congress, hoping to keep up the momentum of government interest and pilot experiences with UAP. Unfortunately, yesterday's demonstration was a huge step backwards for this issue. My testimony centered on sharing my experience and the UAP reports I hear from commercial and military air crew through ASA's witness program. I will continue to raise awareness of UAP as an urgent matter of aerospace safety, national security, and science, but I am deeply disappointed by this unsubstantiated stunt. Now, Mexico's president has also been very quick to believe the supernatural. In fact, earlier this year, he claimed to have photo evidence of a magical elf, which he tweeted and claimed was recent. This picture was later proven to be taken a few years ago. Not quite sure what they determined was the source of the picture, but it just looks kind of weird. Now, fans of the show know how much I want aliens to be proven as real, but I can't get behind this. There are just too many experts across multiple fields claiming this to be a hoax, and in my opinion, once a fraud, always a fraud. Now, moving on to something that's a little closer to my heart. What does it mean to be world champs? A few weeks ago, Noah Lyles, an American sprinter, made waves with his comment saying that NBA champs are not world champs. In a quote, he said, "You know what hurts me the most is that I have to watch the NBA finals and they have world champion on their head." World champion of what? The United States? Now, I can definitely see where he's coming from. I mean, he's competing in an international event against other countries, and I could definitely understand why NBA players have reacted the way that they have. I just think Noah Lyles is wrong. While the NBA stands for National Basketball Association, it is by no means just an American league. The last 5 NBA MVPs, Joel Embiid this year, Nikola Jokic the last 2 years, and then Giannis the 2 years before that, they're all non-American players. The number 1 pick in the draft this year, Victor Wembanyama, is French. Last year, there were 120 international players representing 40 countries across 6 continents last year. By my estimation, at least 5 of the 10 best players in the NBA are international players. The teams play in American cities, but the talent is the best in the world. The best players from all around the world congregate to the NBA. There's also a long history of players who could not stick around in the NBA dominating overseas. Now, if you want to say world champions are when one country plays another, I won't be upset with you. But to me, the title should be given out every single year. And the best basketball players in the world aren't really interested in playing in the World Cup. So that's out. And I have no interest in waiting 4 years to crown a world champ. The NBA is unquestionably the best basketball league in the world. If the Denver Nuggets were to play any team around the world in a 7-game series, the Nuggets would come out on top every time. Now, an idea I think would be fun is if instead of the mid-season tournament, we got to see some international competition. An NBA team gets matched up against an international squad, 7-game series, home court team, home league rules. I can't think of a better way to grow the game internationally. And maybe a few losses to international squads will build up a new sense of competition internationally. Okay, now that's enough rambling. Next, my interview with Eli Phillips. Okay, I'm here with one of my good friends and the head coach of Lawton Childs High School, Eli Phillips. Eli, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Also, gotta mention your alma mater, my boy.
My alma mater. He's coaching him up. He's going to lead him to, so what, Childs opened in 99?
They did, yeah.
So
It's the 25th year anniversary.
25th anniversary, still looking for that first district title. Been to
Yeah,
many district championship games,
yeah, but
uh,
haven't got it,
including,
haven't gone over the hop yet, over the step.
and there's what's been like, well, let's start from the beginning. Let's not get into that too early. So tell me a little bit about your basketball journey. Like, how did you first get involved playing?
Yeah, so I started playing basketball when I was 5. Took the traditional played YMCA, church league, and I just fell in love with it. Tried other sports like baseball, flag football, played instruments in middle school. I played the saxophone, was in the marching band, got to high school, and I just wanted to hoop and want to play ball. And grew up Tallahassee locally. Met you in middle school. We played AU together, and I was a blast. It was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Had really time with you, Mitchell Osterlin, Dominic Bristol. Like that was really
And
fun.
Chad Hunter, we had a bit of a squad.
Yeah,
You know,
Chad was tough. He became a
I ha-
really good receiver at FAMU football.
yeah, he had a, I don't know what happened when he stopped playing, but I know he had a really good career there. I didn't know that you played the
Yeah.
saxophone though. Tell what how am I
Yeah, I
just now
did.
finding out about this?
I'm not gonna lie. So I middle school, I went to North Florida Christian, and I guess I was a little embarrassed because a lot of kids know, oh, you're a band geek, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
So it's something back then I didn't really want to brag about, but now looking back on it, I was like, man, like I should have kept playing.
Yeah.
I loved it, and
Do you ever
at
play
the
now?
time,
Like,
but wait, what did you say? Sorry.
oh, it's okay. Do you ever play now?
Oh no, I haven't played in years, man. I wish though. Low key, I probably should want to pick it back up. I was really
Hey.
into music in middle school and high school. I learned to play the piano. Got decent at the piano. I learned to play guitar, but I wasn't that good at the guitar, so I didn't really pick it up much. But I actually got pretty good at the piano. But my best instrument was the alto sax for sure. I played it
Okay.
all through middle school. But when for NFC, it's a K through 12 school, so we competed in the marching band competitions. We were competing against all the public schools, the Childs, the Leon, the Lincolns, and we were getting a buzz whooped. So I got a little burnt out when I transferred to Leon for high school. I was like kind of wanted to focus on basketball,
Mm-hmm.
which I ended up doing. And actually, I cut my freshman year from JV. Leon was really talented my freshman year. I don't know if
I
you guys
remember. We got
yeah,
spanked.
it's
I remember.
dude, like Cameron Smith, when you were a sophomore, I was a freshman, jumping from the free throw line.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my JV tryouts, the first day, this guy, he didn't end up making the team because he had flunked out, but he just came down, transitioned, just tomahawked right over me. I was just dunked on my ass. And I was like, yo, I gotta get better. Like, so
Yep.
I just grinded and worked out with gain speed. Like Coach Adrian Crawford, Coach Barry Taylor. Played a bunch of premieres, worked on my game, ended up making it JV my 10th grade year, played my 11th grade year, where you guys bounced us in the district your senior year.
Mm-hmm.
You guys made it to the
Exactly
district
right.
championship. I
That
know that
game
was
was a
being brought up, so I might as well
classic.
bring it up now. That
That,
was a great win for you guys. You guys played
uh,
really good that day. Brett
well,
Eastling, great game.
yeah.
Hit that game winner jumper.
Yeah, you guys had let's set this right. You guys had spanked us in the regular season both times.
Yeah, double digits.
In truly like embarrassing fashion. I remember when we played at Leon, it was not even close. Like I remember I think I played like that was like one of the worst games of my high school career. I got yanked early, like I barely played. And then going into the playoffs, we switched to a 3-2 zone. We'd been running that, bless Mr. Guru today, but that awful
Shout out Tom
2-3
and
that he
Neil.
wanted to run, just I they were always just like teams aren't going to be able to shoot better than us, and they always did. They always did. Especially you guys. They'd bring Eli Phillips in, and he would just cash some jumpers early and just leaving people wide open. And speaking of Mitchell Osterland, he benefited from that 2-3 zone too when he transferred to NFC. He absolutely
Yeah.
torched it.
Shout
Um,
out Mitchell, man.
yeah, shout out to Mitch. Now, what do you remember about that game specifically?
Yeah, so you said that was one of your worst games. That was like a worst game for me like, because like you said, when during the regular season, I had good games against you guys. Like, I think the game
Mm-hmm.
of Child, I want to say I had 4 or 5 threes. The game of
Mm-hmm.
Leon, I had close to double digits. And, I was a role player about eighth or ninth at best in the rotation. So my minutes would vary based on how I performed. And I remember early in that first half, we ran a play for one of my boys, Stanley. Shout out Stanley. I don't know if you
I
remember
remember
Stanley
Stanley.
Davis,
I remember
but
Stanley.
he came off of a down screen to the corner, and I missed him, and I tried to score on my own, and I got cut off and I kicked it out. And Coach Davis was so mad at me for not passing the ball to Stanley. He benched me in the second quarter, and I did not get back in for the rest of the game. And I just I just sat there and watched us lose. And like honestly, like it was inspiring for me because I was so upset and mad that that happened that like I just worked super hard that off season to not let that happen again my senior year. At least like get into the
Mm-hmm.
district title. I wish we did, but we couldn't get past Lincoln. But I just remember that feeling in the locker room after we lost to you guys. It was I probably may have took it the worst almost anybody. Like I probably took that worse than most of the seniors. Maybe one or two that were like obviously upset that their high school career was over. But I remember seeing it like, dang, like I know I could have helped us win because we only lost by 1 point, and I had to
Mm-hmm.
sit there the entire game practically. Like my highlight of that game was when we went for that jump ball
We went
and
for the
I
loose
helped
ball. We
you
dove
up
in
and patted
together.
you on the head. Like that was really like my only highlight of that game because like I messed up that one play. It's playoff basketball. One game, one play can change the entirety of the game, so I get it now. And he was wide open. I did miss him. Like I got chewed out on the
Yeah, but if you
sideline.
get if you get yanked for not passing the ball to the coach's son, like that's gonna raise a few
It wasn't the
eyebrows.
coach's son though. Coach's
Oh,
son
I
was
thought he
Trajan.
was.
No, Stanley. No, they just had the same last name, ironically. No, the coach's son,
Mm.
Trajan, the darker skin one. That
Hmm.
he had. I think he had most of the points that game against Charles in that game. He had a pretty
Hey,
decent
maybe
game.
I'm misremembering because I was sure like it was that, and then
Yeah, I
I
can show you a
think
picture after we finish. But
yeah, hundred
Stanley was
percent.
a lighter. Stanley was a lighter skin one that shot a lot of threes.
Mm-hmm.
Trajan, the
He wore
coach's
number
son,
12,
was a
right?
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
and
I
Trajan was
remember. I
21.
vividly. Do you remember the last play of that game?
When we missed, I think
Mm-hmm.
Trajan missed,
A
right?
pick and roll that was I mean, I don't know if it was the plan, but he came off and I was guarding him, and he tried to hit
Yeah,
like a
yeah, I can't
little.
remember now. And I think he hit front
It
rim
was
or air
short.
ball. I
It was
can't.
front. It was front
Yeah.
rim. I thought it was good
Okay.
at
Yeah.
first. I was like,
Yeah.
this man just
Yeah. No,
cashed
it
the
was
game winner
close.
to
It was
end my
close.
career in my face. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that
But yeah.
was a game. But that was the only time we beat you guys. Like you guys were 8-1. Like
Yeah.
that was we were 1-8 against Lincoln early
Yeah.
on
The
my entire
crazy thing
career.
was that after you graduated that next year, we very next time we played you guys after you graduated my senior year at Childs, we were so like amped up to play you guys to get our revenge. We kind of got tight, and it was a similar close game. And Kamari hit a buzzer beater. I think it might have been overtime, I think it was regulation. It was overtime. And I remember I was just so upset again. I was like, man, like, but then eventually we got beat Charles de Leon, and then we won matchup again at districts, and we
Mm.
won, then lost again district championship. But yeah, that game was a wild one. I think that was crazy. I need to talk dang about Kamari because that was almost like a coming out for Kamari in that game, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because he didn't have that good of games against us in the regular season. But I feel like I know Brett was a leading scorer, but Kamari was kind of like protecting the rim, scoring down low. I don't know if he made any jumpers, but I really think that was like the game where he kind of built his confidence. I may be wrong, but it's so long ago now. But
Well, he was
that's
turning into
amazing.
a monster that next season. Like the player he
Yeah,
was
yeah,
his
because that
sophomore
next
year
his
was
junior,
not the player he was his junior year. He became
yeah, his
like
junior year was
he
he was
was
insane.
yeah, he was really good as a sophomore too, like 100%. I don't want to make it sound like that, but he was a monster after that.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to say he was bad, but I think that game was
Yeah.
like, okay, now he realizes he can be that guy because
I
he did have to
remember.
share.
Oh, go ahead.
So he did have to share shots with Brett,
Hmm.
and Brett was really good though.
Yeah.
But
We were pretty blessed to have those two at the same time. Like those were probably
yeah,
two of the
that
better
was
players in the history of the
no,
school. And
Charles for
granted, if either
sure.
of them were in my presence right now, I would not be able to say that to their face. But they're two of the better players in the history of the school. Um,
Yeah, come
but
on, be a little more humble with that.
I'm not gonna speak on either of that.
Yeah, shout out
um,
both of them though.
yeah, shout out to
Crazy
both
thing
of them.
now, it's crazy thing now. I know we're about to get to present day, but crazy thing like how young we still are as like coaches. I coached Brett's brother. That's always so surreal for me. When I started coaching at Childs, was Brett's brother Jake's freshman year, and I got to coach him through high school. Like that was. Sometimes I'll just sit back like these past couple of years and be like, wow, like I grew up playing with your brother, against your brother, and now like coaching you, and like we're not that much older than him. Like how it's pretty cool how life can go like that, man.
Yeah, actually, Jake was on my youngest brother Brett's one of his like the very first basketball team he ever played on. They were both like 6 years old or something like that. And then like when last year
That's cool.
when you started coaching, you were when you became the head coach, you were like, yeah, Jake Easterling is he's a bucket just like his brother. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I thought that kid was in like 7th grade, like
Yeah, no, it's
absolutely
and Jake
insane.
is bigger than Brett too. Jake's every bit of 6'4",
Oh my
like
gosh.
solid build. Yeah, no, if you see Jake now, you'd be like, whoa.
Mm. Okay, so talking about your transition from a player to a coach, when did you first get the feeling that you wanted to coach?
Yeah, so really, when I tell people my story, I really say like basketball changed, like saved my life, like helped me become the man I am today. But really, it was coaching. I remember I was the type of player, say I was spot up shooter, hustle, like 3-and-D type guy in high school. But I'm only 6 foot, so I knew like, sorry, my cat is in the
It's
way.
okay.
Shout out to my cat.
Shout out to the cat. What's his
But,
name?
her name's Rosie.
Rosie.
Rose.
Shout out to Rosie.
Yeah. She just wanted to say hey real quick. But yeah, so I was the type of guy, I had a couple Division 3 offers. I could have like walked on at Division 2s and maybe played JUCO, but the out of state tuition, I didn't get many full scholarships, and I didn't have much academic. I was about a 3.0 student. I was the type of student that I would do enough to get decent grades and then just go hoop and play. That was the
Hmm.
type of high school kid I was. So I really made a tough decision. I really wanted to play, but I knew that student debt would be a pain and it would be a lot. So I decided to stay in Tallahassee and just go to school. And went to TCC. And my freshman year of college, like I was miserable because I grew up playing ball, and then now I was in a position where I wasn't playing for a team anymore. I didn't have to train and to work out, so I didn't really know what to do with myself. And I was not focused on school. I was just focused on all the wrong stuff, doing what a college freshman typically would be doing, partying, having a good time, enjoying their freedom
We saw each
behind the
other a few
curfew.
times. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah, so you
We
do
saw
like
each other a
probably
few
do.
times.
We ran into
Yeah.
each other quite a few times, so you
Yeah,
already
100%.
know what that type of vibe I was on. But
Mhm.
I mean, I remember people would ask, you always get that question when you're 18, 19 years old. So what do you want to do? What are you going to study? And I had no idea. I really was like, I don't know. I would always remember though, like when I was little, middle school, like obviously when I was 5, I was like, I want to play in the NBA. And then, but I always said outside of basketball, I wanted to like do something that makes an impact on the world. That's all. I remember always saying that like quite a few times. I want to do something that makes an impact, on other people. But I just didn't know what that was. And I remember after my freshman year of college, I had like a 2.3 GPA. I was just doing all the wrong stuff. And I was like, man, I got to figure something out, or I'm not even gonna be able to get an AA in community college. So I remember that summer, like in my first year, and we played together in the Warhawks in middle school, but that kind of transitioned to Tallahassee Thunder, and I ended up playing for them that AAU program when I was in high school, my junior and senior year. And I remember after I graduated after my freshman year of college, I went up to coaches, Coach Moore, Coach Byron Carter, and I just visited, was just playing with them. And then they asked me if I would be interested in just helping out some of the little kids, just volunteering. And I remember that first year I helped like sixth grade team. I was an assistant coach, and I loved it. And I was like, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just that young guy on the bench, just screaming, being hype. Like, had no like, I knew the game, but didn't know like the X's and O's part. I was just that guy. I was super hype. Didn't really know what to say. I remember after that summer, and I was like, I think this is what I want to do. And my sophomore year, I coached with them again with Thunder. And then after I finished my second year, the president Riley Moore offered me to coach under him at McClay. He was the middle school coach at the time, and I coached his sixth grade team. That was 5 years ago now. Yeah, and I coached 1 year there, and then my high school coach Rick Davis, my guy, I think it was 2 years after I graduated, 2018, 2019. Around that time, he switched from Leon to Childs to be the coach at Childs when he was at Leon, which at the time I thought that was the craziest thing like
Mhm.
ever. I was like, yo, like, because I mean, I love you, Dom, and I always will. Leon Childs, like it's a big
That's
rivalry in
beef.
all sports.
It's beef.
Like it's like that, like and volleyball, football, basketball, baseball, all the sports
Hmm.
like that's like Charles has McClay, Leon has Lincoln, but that second rivalry, both schools is
Is
Leon
as
Childs.
each
So
other,
like
100%.
when he made that transition, I was like, what the hell? And then I like that was crazy to me. But I remember his after his first year, he was looking for a JV coach, and he brought me on. He hired me as a JV coach, and that's when I transitioned from TCC to FSU. So that was my junior year, and it took me 2 extra years to get my bachelor's. So I didn't get my bachelor's until 2022, so last April. And so those last past 3 years, I was the before that, excuse me, when I got hired, I was the JV coach at Childs after my second year. So the first year I coached under Coach Davis, loved it. We had a good team. Coach Davis's son, his middle son Taj, was a beast. He led the team in scoring his sophomore year, and we had a really good team. We were that was like up there with the talent of Kamari and Brett. Like that, they didn't have like those guys, but the team around him like was
Hmm.
really good. and we had like four guys who were like 6'5". Like we were built like a Division III team. Like my first year,
Wow.
like when I got there, I was like, whoa, this was not the Childs like
Yeah.
I saw like
Yeah.
when we were in high school. Like no offense, but like I was like,
No,
man, these
no,
guys are athletic.
I
Like
agree.
that was a LaCory. Shout out Chris Levins, LaCory, his brother LaCory. That was
Polo
his senior
Levins.
year. Polo Levin's brother LaCory. Like that was his senior year. They were loaded. Like it was a great team, but we ran into the districts at the time. It was called Columbia High School in Lake City. We're in our district, and they beat us by one in the district championship, and then we matched up with them in the playoffs in the first round. They beat us by one again, and that's how
It's
that
tough.
season went. That was the first season. Yeah, it was tough, and that team was loaded. That was arguably one of the best, most talented teams in Childs, probably top three at least. And then the second year at Childs, that's when so after that first year, that's when the COVID hit. That's my first season. So that second year is coming in, you got all the masks and you get players had to wear masks on the bench, which is still doesn't make sense to me that part. Like
Hmm.
we're around each other all the time in practices and games, but during the game, you get something out of the game, you gotta have that mask on. Like, sorry, I got a little off topic there, but yeah, it's the
No,
second
no, no.
year.
I agree. It's like a
Yeah,
completely
yeah,
absurd thing.
but
Like you're
that's just
just
how like wild that
it's
was.
rules that are made by people that aren't like there, and they're just like we have to have something here, like this safeguard here, so
Exactly.
you could play. And nobody really like. I feel like at that stage we still knew like so little about like COVID and everything that was going
No,
on.
yeah,
Like
no,
and like
because
this past season, my boys were absolutely gross every single day. Like they were not worried about COVID at all last year.
oh yeah, no, and that this past season it literally felt like normal. Like
Yeah.
somebody had COVID. All right, well, whenever you feel better, we'll we'll see you.
Go come on back whenever you're ready.
Right. But yeah, the high schoolers got pretty lucky that first year. I think that was 2019, 2020 season. That was my first season, I want to say. Like, because COVID hit pretty much right after the high school season because we didn't
Hmm.
get March Madness that year. So the high schoolers, at least, were able to get their season. Like they caught a break there in that regard, at least.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I'll fast forward back to my second year as a JV coach at Childs. We had the COVID, all that stuff. We were having a really good season, and I think the varsity that year at Childs was 10-4, I want to say, and had some really solid team.
Hmm.
Coach Davis' son Taj, he was averaging like 20 points a game. We had a 6'5" center, averaged like 18 and 9. Really solid squad. Had
Hmm.
some shooters around him, like ran a really nice 4-out, 1-in offense. Like really thought we had a chance to like make a run and try to get that first district title the Childs hasn't accomplished yet. And then right after our 14th game, Coach Davis got suspended just for violating some school policy stuff, and he didn't finish the season, and it just kind of rocked the whole synergy and vibe of the team. And I think we ended up finishing 12-11 after being 10
Wow.
and 4. Yeah, and got knocked in a district semis by Lincoln. And
Who
Coach
did they
Davis.
replace him with? I can't remember.
So the interim at the time was his name was Coach Polinsky Hayes. When we were in high school, he was a head coach at West Gadsden when West
Mm.
Gadsden was like really good, won a couple state titles.
Brandon Shingles there then?
Brandon Shingles, this
Shout
is
out
actually
Brandon
Brandon
Shingles
Shingles'
before I
son.
say anything else.
Shout out Brandon Shingles. He is the
Used to
man.
cook us at used to cook me at Child's
Yeah,
Open Gym pretty
he
often.
is such a bucket. Quick off topic, when we were talking about the Twins and Kamari's 5-on-5 game, those
Hmm.
guys from Orlando, Brandon Shingles was the one that set that up. He knew those guys from Orlando. He was able to set that up. Like
Oh yeah,
he's the man.
he did a live stream of that, right? Or he was put it on his
He
Instagram live
did.
or
Yeah, he did.
yeah.
Yeah, he knew them boys, and them boys were like talking mess to him, said they're about to smoke Kamari and the Twins,
Hmm.
and they end up getting smoked. But yeah, so this is actually Brandon Shingles' father. To go back to what we were
Okay.
talking about, that was the interim coach. He's a really good coach. Like, he's been a great mentor for me, but the kids were just like so mentally off. They didn't really know what was going on. Like they couldn't focus, and like we just had a collapse in the season. And then Coach Davis ended up getting fired. So for me, I had one more year left of college. I usually in order to get hired as a varsity coach, you have to have a bachelor's. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those unwritten type rules. Like you can't find a way, but if you don't have a bachelor's, you have like a 1% chance of getting a job. So I
It's
still
really
end up
hard if you're
applying.
not a teacher too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I ended up applying after Coach Davis got fired to be the head coach of Childs, and I interviewed, but I didn't get it. So when I didn't get it, I just assumed whoever got hired was gonna bring in their own staff, and I was just gonna have to move on. So I was really upset about it because I was loving being a JV coach at Charles, and we had a great team. Like at both 2 years, I was a JV coach at the time. Like we had great teams. Like at the time, Coach Davis was about to be a senior and was probably gonna be he's arguably the best player in the city or at least top three. So we were expecting to have a good team. And then he after his dad gets fired with the coach, he ends up transferring to Godby. And then the other seniors end up quitting. So we're looking at a team with one senior, a bunch of young guys. So it literally just went from here to like here. And but to backtrack, the coach they end up hiring, he comes in, has no staff. He didn't bring nobody with him. And I remember when he called me, he goes, "Man, coach, these guys like Taj and Davis, and they know the other guys like these guys are gonna be good. Like we're gonna have a great team next year." And I was like, "Coach, none of them are coming back." And he kind of got a little starstruck, and
Mm-hmm.
he asked me to stay because didn't have a staff. So I ended up coaching under him JV another year, and we had a terrible season. It was just such a young team. The coach was having a hard time getting adjusted. He's from Jacksonville, and having a hard time getting adjusted to Tallahassee, like the Child's culture. And we ended up going 7-19.
Mm.
We played Leon the first round of districts, got smoked by 20, and then after season ends in the summer, he just quits. He just says, "No, that just isn't for me," and do something else. He just ups and leaves. So here again, and I'm like, well, I got my bachelor's now. I just graduated. I'm
Mm.
like, well, I'll try to put my name in the hat again. And I applied again. I interviewed, and the school ended up making me the interim coach to start the school year. I think they were just because it happened. He quit in the summer, so they was kind of scrambling at the time. So they just had me be the interim and did a full interview process. And I think they decided in October of last year. So it'd be about
Yeah, I remember we were
2 months.
talking like we were talking about it pretty often. We're like, ah, it might happen. It might. I think it's
Yeah,
gonna happen.
so the start of the school year. So I was nervous too because you just said a couple minutes ago. Usually, I want you to be a teacher. I
Hmm.
did not get my teacher certificate. I studied sport management. Like at the time, like when I was in college, I ended up getting my degree in sport management. I wanted to coach, but I also wanted to do like other stuff in basketball, like or other sports too, like director of basketball ops or like work in the front office. Like that's still a dream of mine. One day I want to have a position in the NBA or WNBA one day, either front office or coaching. Like, that's still my dream. So that's what I was working towards. And like I said, the situation I was in under the two previous coaches, I did not even expect to get an opportunity to be the head coach. I didn't really expect. I said maybe if the opportunity comes, another high school, I'll try to take it. So I was nervous about that too. I'm like, man, I don't have my teacher certificate. Like, are they not going to hire me because of that? So I'm working as a substitute teacher and doing in-school suspension, and I'm a school security monitor and interim coach to start the school year. I'm just working out the boys, and like the kids were, thank God, the kids like I had developed a good relationship with them. Almost all the juniors and seniors I coached while they were on JV, so like we had a good relationship. They wanted me to be the coach, and most of their parents wanted me to be the coach too. So I think that meant everything. And we live in a world today where it's just all connection based about who you know. And give a quick shout out to the FSU women's coach Brooke Wyckoff. When I was at Florida State, my senior year, I was on their scout team. I would practice against FSU women's, and they were tough. Like
Yeah.
they would give me buckets for sure. But I told her about the situation after I graduated, and she wrote a letter of recommendation to Child's administration staff and our athletic director. And I think I may have still probably gotten hired if she didn't write that letter, but I think
But that's
that got me over
incredible.
the top. Yeah, no, it was amazing, and I think that got me over the top, and they gave me a chance in October, and 5 minutes of official coach, and which was I was scrambling because like in the preseason, like at this time right now, like you kind of know what you're gonna do, But I was like, look, I have a plan, but I don't know if I'm gonna be the coach. Like, so I'm like, I'm kind of like you're working out, but the dynamic was a little off because the kids are like, okay, is he gonna be the coach or is he not? Like, what's
Because even
going
when they
on?
don't know, they know. Like it's like,
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
what's what's going on here?
They had a feeling, especially the more I got dragged out, because that's when I was getting more and more confidence. The more I got dragged out, but I'm such a guy. I'm the type of guy like you never know type mentality. Like
Mhm.
something may happen, or like they may have somebody in their back pocket. But I was fortunate enough to be blessed, and when I tell people that situation, there's really like not more. There's a really unique situation. There's not many other people that be in this type of situation I'm in. So, but yeah, I coached this past year, and we had a solid season. We did much better than we did the year before under the previous coach. We finished 13-12. Had some big wins. We won at Rickards, and I somebody may have told me before, but I think that was the first time. I may prove me wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure it's the first time that Childs ever won at Rickards. I think Childs has beat Rickards at Childs, but I don't think Childs ever won at Rickards. I don't know if you ever.
I'm trying to think. I
Well,
know
you
my
may be.
senior year we played them in a super tight game and lost close, but we were never close
Yeah,
any other time.
yeah. The one of the years I was a JV coach, we beat Rickards at Childs. But I look back on a lot of the Max Preps teams, and I didn't see any
Hmm.
win. But now
Hey,
that
then
really,
we'll take it. That's a
yeah, no,
celebration right there.
that really solidified that I was like, okay, I can do this because we had a rough start because the coach, he did not give me an easy schedule because by the time he had quit, he had already pretty much had the entire schedule planned out. And our first game was against Crossroads Academy, who had 5-star, 6'7" wing Chris Parker, who's going to Alabama, who gave us 30. And we got smoked the first game. We were playing schools like Lincoln, McClay was really good last year. McClay smoked us
Yeah, that
twice.
was crazy. They some of the private schools are starting to recruit at like a
Yeah,
level
so
that's like
no,
really
at another
crazy.
level.
I don't know
So
when this
yeah,
change happened. It was like
it's literally just changed. So
when
pretty
we
much
were in
all the private
school.
schools.
I was gonna say when
Yeah.
we were in school, it was like the public schools would clap everybody. Like there was like Gobby, there was like
hmm
Rickards, and like Lincoln, Leon,
Lincoln.
Giles,
Yeah.
and
But yeah,
and then the
but
private
all the public
schools.
schools, yeah, all the public schools would still spank
Yeah, there'd be
all
like
the
shuffling
private
around
schools.
with that, but there was definitely like a clear gap
Yeah.
between public schools and private schools. And then when John Paul won state a few years ago, I think was like things
hmm
started to really change.
Yeah, it's because these private schools are not allowed to give athletic scholarships. And it was funny. I remember though when I got hired before the season started last year, I went to the district meeting. All the county schools in Leon County and Tallahassee have a coaches meeting. All the coaches from all the schools from all the winter sports. Excuse me. I remember one of the administrators stood up and goes, "Well, there's not much we can do right now, but the private schools they're recruiting. They're getting kids because they can just give them athletic scholarships and they can get them from any zone. And it's hurt us in Tallahassee specifically because they tightened up the zoning for attending public schools. Back when we were in high school, it was a little easier for you to transfer. If you wanted to transfer public school, you could just apply and get in. But now they're really harping on if you're not zoned for that high school, you cannot transfer. There's only like a short period of gap in the month of March, the month of April, where you can apply to transfer. They call it school of choice. And if you don't apply in those 2 months, you cannot transfer schools. You have to go to the school you're zoned for because the bigger schools like Leon, Childs, and Lincoln, they're getting overcapacitated because kids are wanting to attend for athletic reasons and just because they're zoned. But yeah, so it's really been hard for the public schools to get kids and compete with the private schools because they can offer academic scholarships, athletic scholarships, and you have FSU legend Charlie Ward head coaching Florida High,
Yeah,
which is
that's
crazy
crazy.
because back it's changed. Like it's done a whole 180 because back when we were in high school, Florida High was literally the worst team in the city. I remember that was my senior night, and we beat them by like 35. They had like sophomores. They had a couple good hoopers like Dre. I remember Dre. He,
Hmm.
he was tough. He's hooping at Thomas University right now.
Mm. I
But I mean,
remember.
they had
I'm trying to remember. I'm forgetting names now.
oh,
They
in your
had
senior year,
my senior year.
Tajay.
Tajay was good.
Yeah,
I remember
Tajay's a
my
bucket.
when
Yeah,
we were on JV. Tajay like beat us by himself. Like it was
yeah.
like
Not
I think
literally
it was like
like
my
he was.
first game starting JV. Like
Yeah, he was a team when he was in high school. He
yeah,
was averaging like
we
25 a game.
I think that game I had like a solid Draymond Green stat line, like 2 points, like 11 rebounds, like 8 assists, and then I remember
Hey, there you go.
him hitting this step back three to send us to overtime, and then we choked in overtime. I vividly
Damn.
remember that. Then we lost to McClay the very next day. Not a great
Oh,
not a
oh,
great
I think that
stretch.
was that game. I remember.
Hmm.
It was that challenge, right?
It was at McClay actually. If you
Okay.
talk to Mitchell about that game, Mitchell feels very passionate about that game. That was what if that was my sophomore year, his freshman year. No, that was not his last year there, but that was we'll message in the group chat after we're done here
Yeah,
about that McClay game and see how he feels.
yeah. I'd love to
Um,
hear about that. Do something funny, but
yeah. So let
yeah.
me see
So
here. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, my first year, I was piggyback on what I was saying about when we beat Richards. Like we had a really tough schedule to start. We were 1-5, and I was sitting there like, man, I don't know if Evan maybe looking at me, this young 24-year-old coach that may be in over his head, like. But I really appreciate though the administration. They gave me no expectations going into last season. Like, look, you're third head coach in 3 years, coming off a 7-19 season. Like, you really like we're gonna give you time to try to figure this out, but same time, like we're competitors, man. Like you have to be as a coach. You want to win. I remember sitting there, like the kids were frustrated because we had a lot of seniors last year, and they were a part of that 7-19 team. Some of them thinking, man, like it's gonna be the same season all over again. Like, but when we beat Rickards, that really solidified. Like, I think me for myself, but that team specifically, because we went after we beat Rickards to go 2-5, we ended up winning five more in a row, and we were able to we were just kind of the middle of the pack team. We were a solid team, but we were able to beat a solid, like above 500 team. I think that was a
Mm.
big accomplishment. And it's just one of those things. I'm just trying to build step by step to hopefully be that team that can get over the hump and give Charles that first district title. And I feel like we took that next step. So now just been working diligently to try to take that next leap. But yeah, it's tough though to compete with the private schools. I mean,
It
like
is.
Florida High, McClay won't be as good as they were last year. They'll still be solid. They have a good coach. When we were in high school, he was a coach at FAN UDRS, Coach Granger.
Mm-hmm.
He's really solid coach. And they have some solid players, but they were loaded last year. Like they were just as good as Florida High. I don't know if you
Mm.
saw they beat Florida High twice last year.
Mm-mm. I did
Beat them in
not see that.
districts. Yeah, they beat them in districts, but Florida High got them in the state playoffs. But
The
yeah,
way they do the state playoffs is really weird. I
it is weird.
it doesn't quite make sense to me. Just in this season that I just had with the team I coached, the Cambridge Christian, the way that they did the bracket was absolutely like
Oh
insane.
yeah,
Like
we
absolutely, it didn't make any sense to me.
yeah we
Like
got screwed in districts seeding wise because they've changed up the seeding to kind of like a March Madness style where they
yeah,
be that score, and
yeah,
we got screwed. So they switched our district now. Our district is us, Childs, Leon in Tallahassee, Lincoln in Tallahassee. Then we got Mosley High School in Panama City, right? Then we got two teams from Gainesville High, and Buchholz from Gainesville. And they just switched that district before past season. So we didn't have Mosley, Gainesville High, or Buchholz on our schedule. So we played Lincoln twice and Leon twice. And I was thinking our seeding would be based on how we did in those four games. We ended up going 3-1 in those four games. We split with Lincoln, which was huge, winning against Lincoln at Childs. That was huge. And they had smoked us the first time, like beat us by 20. So that was a huge win for us too. And we beat Leon twice. So once we beat Leon that second time, I was thinking, hey, like we're gonna probably at least be top two or three. They put us fourth in the district, and it was because of like strength of record and
yeah.
something like that. Our score, because Lincoln had a worse district record than us because they split with Leon, split with us. They were 2-2. So I was thinking we were going to be ahead of Lincoln and Leon because we had a better district record, but we were only ahead of Lincoln. And Lincoln got matched up with Mosley in the first round, who was the bottom seed. They were the 6th seed, and Lincoln was the 3 seed. And we were the 4th seed, got matched up with Leon. And Leon beat us in the first round of districts after we beat them twice in the regular season. It was just one of those games. Like
So
we were a better team than Leon, but we weren't that much of a better team. I mean, like Leon was a solid team. It's just hard to be a
it's
team
hard to
three
beat a team
times.
three. Yeah, so it's hard to beat a team
Yeah,
three times.
and they got us the third time. And but I was like, dang, if we would have got that third seed, I think we would have been able to beat Mosley and at least advance to the next round. But Gainesville High won our district. They were really good. They had a lot of size. They had a 6'9" big man that's going to Appalachian State this year. They had some good shooters, some good guard play. But yeah, no, the districts and then it changes now. So like they rank you out of the whole entire like your region you're in. So like we're in the 6A, and we have a lot of good schools in the 6A. You remember when we were in high school, Charles and Leon Lincoln were in 7A, and then they moved down to 6. But like there's just so many good schools. Like if you don't have close to 20 wins, you're not gonna get that large bid in the top
Yeah,
8.
and honestly, you probably need like a lot of like cupcakes on your schedule. Like I was talking
Oh
to the
yeah,
head
like
coach at our school, like because we had a really difficult schedule this year, and we played a team that was like, because in I think we were like 2 or 3A. There were way
mhm.
fewer schools. Like I think there's only like 100 or so that show up in max preps, and
Hmm.
actually there's definitely more. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
we
but
played a
it's
team that
about
was like 30 at one point in time, and they're like 19-6. And going into that game, all of the parents and some of the JV kids were just like, "Oh, like you guys, like they're talking trash. We had a really good JV team this year, and they would get really
Mhm.
competitive in scrimmages with the varsity, and they would start to talk trash like our record is better than yours. We're a better team than you
Ooh,
guys." And then like
yeah,
that
I
moment
can get
came,
chippy.
that come to Jesus moment happened.
Mm,
We both played the same school. Their JV team was very bad, and their varsity team had a really good record.
mm-hmm.
And but the varsity team hadn't played anybody good, and we'd watched them on film, and we're like, we're just gonna beat them. Varsity team
Yeah.
crushed them. JV team lost, and it
Ooh,
was just like a absolute, like a one of those moments. Like you could have
yeah,
like a
humbling experience.
a
Yeah.
great record. Like records don't really mean anything in high school. Like you're not playing a
No, they don't.
consistent level of competition against two teams at all. Like you guys would
Yeah.
go undefeated against Cambridge Christian schedule 100%.
And I mean, it's any given night in high school. That's why
Mm-hmm.
I've really loved it. Like being like on the other side of like coaching. Obviously, nothing beats playing, but
Mm-hmm.
just any given night, like these kids are 14 to 18 years old. You never know what kid may have the game of his life, and
Yeah.
what kid like may not be mentally focused or locked in, have a bad game, and so it's like literally any given night, and
Yeah,
it's
and kids will
it can
surprise
be
you.
it can be
They'll
really
surprise
stressful.
you 100.
It can be really stressful, I said, but
Yeah.
it can be on the other side where it's like, man, it can be really special to have those moments. But yeah, I do not like it all. Don't like it all how they switched up the way they do districts and the playoffs. Because back when we were in high school, if you made it to the district championship, even if you lost, you got into the state playoffs. Because even that
Mhm.
year when you guys beat us, when you were a senior and I was a junior, you guys had a losing record, but beat us and qualified for the district championship and played in the state playoffs. I
Yep.
mean, if that was today's time, like you'd be bounced if you didn't win districts.
100%.
And even if you do
I
win districts, like let's say you do win districts with losing record, you're gonna get the A seed and you're gonna see the best team in the region. So it's like, man, but yeah, no,
so I
it's
guess in some ways it's better, but
yeah, I
there
mean,
it could always be better, if
yeah,
that makes
yeah. There's no
sense.
perfect way. I do agree. There's no perfect way, but it is. I do think there should be a reward for making the district championship because
Yeah,
that's
100%.
because that's what I've been preaching to my kids this off season because they know we've never won a district title, and a lot of my seniors and my juniors and sophomores who they'll be on varsity like we gotta win districts. We gotta win districts. I'm like, hey, we gotta make it first. Like, we gotta make it to the game first. Like that's the next step is making it to the district title, and then once we're there, anything can happen.
Yeah,
So
hopefully you're not playing at Lincoln with people from Lincoln running the scoreboard and scorebooks and running the medical tents and whatnot. They just
yeah.
I Lincoln is something else. I'm not gonna get too into
Maybe
Lincoln, I guess.
I'll
Did I?
call. I'll tell a quick funny story though, if you don't mind, about
Yeah,
playing
of
when we played
course.
at Lincoln this year. So Lincoln smoked us at Lincoln by 20. It's a tough place. That's a tough gym to play at. When I was playing
Mm-hmm.
in high school, that was my least favorite gym to play at. They had
Mm-hmm.
tight, stiff rims. The lights were kind of dark, and it almost
The
felt
way
like a
they had the
dungeon.
little ramp set up in the back, like that you could like walk
Yeah,
up, but like you couldn't really see anybody while they were walking. It was really weird.
yeah. So we're playing, and it's about when we played Lincoln this year at Lincoln. It was about mid third quarter, early fourth quarter. We're down like 18, 20 points, and there's about 10 Lincoln students sitting behind our bench. They were heckling us the whole game, this being high school students. And out of nowhere, there's like somebody shooting. I can remember shooting free throws. I can remember which team. And out of nowhere, all these kids behind our bench just stand up and scream and start running. And like my heart dropped because my initial thought was that somebody pulled out a gun or like some it was my initial thought was to that some type of violence or something broke out. And I turn around and there's these two huge rats like this big, like on the third row, fell from the ceiling. And just landed and my parents were at the game. It landed and my girlfriend, it landed like right in front of them. And like my girlfriend, my mother like freaked out. My dad, his goofy behind just sitting there like it was pretty funny. But like that just goes to show how like kind of raggedy that gym is. Like rats
Yeah.
fell from the ceiling during the game. and we still finished
Not
the
small
game.
ones.
Like, it didn't affect anything else. Everybody kind of looked like, oh, it's rats. Well, let's call custodian, see if they can get them, and finish the game. But yeah, no, that's not a great place to play at.
Yeah, I remember I had like one of the most frustrating experiences like in my entire playing career there. Like it was in the district championship. In the second quarter there is a loose ball. I dive on it and Patrice dives. I don't know if you remember Patrice. Shout out to
Yeah,
Patrice.
I remember
He's what
Patrice, the lefty. He
um
was good.
we both dive for the loose ball. I get to it first, but you know, he lands on top of me, on top of my head, and my head hit like skids on the floor or something. I don't quite remember what happens. Ball goes loose, play goes on, like we end up going back on defense. There's another loose ball, like a scrum some sort, then we call a timeout and we're in the timeout and Nick Parmalee looks over at me, he's like, Dominic, you're bleeding. And like my eyelid had like split open when I hit the floor
Ooh,
and like I hadn't
yeah,
felt it. Um
yeah, because the
so I
sweat was there.
go, yeah, like I guess it can that skin can split open really easily.
Yeah.
So I go and I sit with the trainer for a little while, and she's like, I don't even remember what she was doing. I think she's like dabbing my eye with like a cotton swab, and then she's like, you're gonna have to go to the hospital. So like I remember standing up and like walking up the stairs, and we're like in the locker room, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, Coach Sherry comes like a bat out of
Mhm.
hell. She's like, what the hell's going on in here? And they're like, oh, he's got to go to the hospital. And they're like, you can't just put tape over his eye. And they like look at each other and then they literally just put like a piece of like tape like over my eye like this. And I go back in, and it's been like at this point
Wow.
a quarter of game time. Like I missed like the entire rest of the second quarter, and I'm not able to go back in until the third quarter. And
Dang.
John Mitchell, who was our backup, was sick, so he did not play. So that like stretch, we go from being like down like high single digits, maybe like 10, 11, to like down like 18 and a half.
Mm.
Third quarter starts, we go on this big run. We're cutting it down, and then we just didn't have enough, end up losing. And like
Yeah.
to this day, and Coach Daly, shout out Coach Daly, our AAU
Yeah,
coach.
that's really.
He's on the bench at Lincoln, and to this day he talks about how they won that district title, and to this day I talk about how they should not have won it.
Yeah, because that run would
That
have been
that
less of a
run and
deficit.
that
Yeah.
second period stretch. But anyway, I'm getting off track reminiscing. What coach do you think has been the most influential on in terms of like how you've built your philosophy? Do you ever hear yourself and be like, oh, I got this from coach so and so?
You mean based on people I met or just like any coach
Anything.
in general? Uh, that's a really good question. Um, I like the philosophies that Greg Popovich and Steve Kerr have in the NBA. Like, I really the system I try to run Childs is based off like pacing space, like spread out, 4 out, 5 out, but really emphasize ball movement, making the extra pass, hitting the open man, even at times overpassing. I remember one time Pop back when the Spurs were winning championships at the end when they beat the Miami Heat and the end of Tim Duncan, Manu, and Tony Parker's run. Pop was on like just pass, 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 like overpass at times. That's what I've heard myself say at times, like just like keep it moving past. Like I'm okay with you guys overpassing at times, but at the college level, grew up in Tallahassee, so I love those Florida State teams with Coach Ham that would get up in your face and play man to man, and have a bunch of guys that could sub in and out and be interchangeable. At times I would look for that, like picking like teams when I was on JV coach and now on varsity. Like I would embrace like having like 10, 11 guys. Like I think I've and like watching those like games has helped me like from the substitution perspective of
Hmm.
like knowing like when to make subs, when not to make subs. Because like some coaches love to only play like 8, 9 guys, and
Yeah, I was gonna
sometimes some
ask you how do you let go and do that? I
like
could
and
not do that.
like I mean I like it really depends on the personnel. And this past season, at times I did like struggle with like having to balance of okay, like trying to get everybody like their reps that I think they
Mhm.
deserve, but at the same time like playing your main 5 or 6 that you know that are your best 5 or 6. And I think for me, I've kind of learned, at least what I think it's different for each team. Like some
100%.
team, you have guys you can plug in 9, 10, 11 guys, and there's no drop off. But some guys, you get after that sixth, seventh guy, look on that bench, you're like, I don't know. You don't know if you can
Mm-hmm.
trust in those situations, or they're young teams. So you made some. I've had situations where I've coached high school and AAU where I've rocked out 10, 11 guys, played them, done 10, 11, 12 man rotation almost every game. I've also had teams in AAU or high school where I've only done 6, 7 man rotation, and just you're using timeouts to give your boys rest rather than
Mm-hmm.
actually using them for game purposes. But I really liked where we lived before he retired. Mark Few at Gonzaga is a good one. I really, honestly, in college, I really just been trying like all like March Madness. I try to just look at all teams, all coaches. So it really is hard for me to pinpoint one in specifically. But now to go back to high school level, I don't know if you remember the old McClay coach, Mike McGrotha,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know him super well. I know him well. I did his like premier camps when we were a little kid, but I really like his like fundamental aspect of things. Um, like he's kind of like an old school type coach, but at the same time, like he knows he's the type of coach that adapt to the game evolving, because basketball is a game that just always evolves. Like it's evolving even more and more nowadays. With the way, if you look at the NBA, 5 out basketball, like you still got old heads that think the center shouldn't be shooting threes or handling the ball. I think it should be just a traditional five. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a healthy balance of both, having a big that can play down low and up top. But and then he was the type of guy that had good, had a good sense of the fundamentals and like basic stuff, but also was able to adapt to the game evolving.
Yeah, McClay had a couple of really good tall guys while we were in school. Like they had, oh my gosh, I can't remember what his name is. The Perry brothers, they were good.
Everybody's were
But I was
good.
thinking even before the Perry brothers, they had Clay Meenan is his name. He was like 6'10". He was pretty good.
Yeah, Clay was
He,
good.
he he was out. He played inside and out.
Yeah, 'cause he had a nice stroke. He hit shot
Mm-hmm.
from outside. And I think one of the Reggie brothers, one of the Perry brothers, Reggie, is playing at G League, I want to say. I think he's playing with
And he was
the
on the
rap.
Blazers for a little while.
He was. He had a good career at Mississippi State, but that 1 year.
Yeah, he was really
It
good at
was,
Mississippi State. I
yeah,
remember I remember seeing how well he was doing and looking at my players and being like, "You guys see this guy? Like, I
yeah.
I gave this guy some buckets at one point in time. like,
Uh,
like
a
he
lot of
got the
people.
better of me for sure, like more than once. But like
Oh
I,
yeah, and he
I got
was
my
raw at
bucket.
first. Like when we were a few years older than him, so like
Yeah,
we were kind of like in his like raw project stage. But once he got right, like he
yeah.
became a
Once he got
problem.
right, he was right for sure.
Yeah, but a lot of people thought he should have stayed another year because he only went like 56th or 57th in the draft. He barely even got drafted. And a lot of people think he could have improved his stock staying one more year, which nowadays you lose stock staying another year in college. But
And it's hard to
that's
tell.
crazy.
It's hard to tell a kid not to go to the NBA when he knows he's good enough to play in the NBA.
Yeah, that's facts. That's
Like
facts.
if I was in that same position, I'm there. I am
Yeah,
there.
no. Yeah, no, for sure. I remember when I was at FSU, I think it was uh it was a COVID year actually. Patrick Williams that plays for the Bulls.
Hmm.
One of my electives in sport management was a theory of basketball class, and of course I took it. And Pat Williams was in that class, and I sat next to him. I remember he did not want to enter the draft, and he was a lottery pick. Like FSU kind of had like forced
He
him
was like
out, and said
fifth, right?
he went fourth.
Yeah,
And I
fourth.
remember like because he was a raw project. He's like still growing his game right now. I think a lot of people saying he should have a breakout year this year from what I've read and like followed. But I remember like sitting in class and I remember asking him, "You gonna enter draft, right?" And he goes, I don't know. I'm like, dude, you're like lottery. Like why would you
Hmm.
not go to draft? But yeah, you're right though. You got a chance to go to the league, go to the league.
But I mean,
But who's some
I understand
coaches?
it being a scary jump for sure.
Yeah. So who are some coaches you look at philosophy wise, try to emulate?
Man, I hear Coach Daly and Coach Bristol in myself so often. Like I will talk about stopping cutters. Man, I literally I heard myself yelling about stopping a cutter at one point in time, and I like had to stop, and I was like, "Dear God!" Like, because Coach
Well,
Bristol, I love Coach Bristol. One of the most probably the most impactful coach I've ever had. When we
yeah,
first
I love him
started
too.
that AAU season, I hated him. He was on my ass every
I remember.
single practice. And
Yeah, we had some
I'm a
rough practices.
goofball. Yeah, no, he absolutely fantastic. I'm a goofball at heart, and I remember for tryouts, I was like the only one on that AAU team taking it seriously. And then like I think like I don't know what happened for practices, but like I would goof around sometimes in practice, and like if I attempted a left-handed layup on the right side, running. If I blew a
Yep.
layup, running. Like if I
We're
didn't stop
joking
the
on the
cutter,
baseline.
running.
We're running.
Man, but in terms of like
Yeah.
Coach Daly, like I always felt like empowered to like I could take a bad shot and he wouldn't be mad. Like I could feel confident out there at all
Yeah.
times, like not knowing that like a mistake wouldn't get me like yanked, and I did not have that same experience when I would play for my high school team, if that makes sense. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I want to coach like that. Granted, I don't always coach like that, but I've never yanked somebody for a singular mistake. I can't say that.
Yeah, I tried to do the same too and put two mistakes. But yeah, those are two good ones. That was definitely two I should have mentioned because every time I say or I see a UCLA cut, always think of Bristol.
Mm-hmm.
Always think of Bristol. It's crazy like going against them. I think that's probably
Yeah,
why the name
I
come to
what is
mind because
what was that first game like? I completely forgot he's back at NFC now. So tell me like your emotions going into that first game. Was there like trash talk during the game?
it was friendly, but I remember my
Mm-hmm.
first experience was going against Daly, and like you know how Daly is, like he's like
Mm-hmm.
New York, like tough, like he
He
gets you
would
that
talk
confidence.
trash while we were playing against him.
Yeah, like
So,
he gives you that confidence, but like you're gonna feel his presence, and
hmm
that was my first year coaching high school, and I remember we were playing NFC, and we had better team. We had a pretty good JV team our first year, and like Coach Daly's team, they weren't as talented as, but he like had them boys playing so aggressive. I mean, I swear, Dom, we had like seven jump balls in the first quarter. And
yeah,
after every one, like I hear Coach Daly said, "Who
he's like,
won it? Who wants it?
yeah,
Who?" And I'm like, I'm getting PTSD on the sideline coaching, bro. I was like, man,
hmm
I could not like lock in. I was like, adjustment wise, I was like, I kind of like froze for a second. I had to like literally like get myself back right mentally. We ended up winning the game by like 10, but he like definitely like outcoached me that game for real because he was like like we should have like
he,
if it was just like pure like pick up 5-on-5 with no coaching like my boys probably would have beat them like by 20, but like he was just like he had them like playing tough nose gritty, like we were rattled, like we were forcing shots, like
mhm.
we were like getting like we had a few missed calls and we're getting our head about it, then we started fouling, like so that was an experience, and that was fun to go against. But shout out Daly. Now he's the girls coach at Lincoln. He's a head girls
Yeah,
coach at Lincoln. And he's doing a good job over there. But Bristol, Bristol was funny because we taught like Bristol has been a great mentor for me since I've taken over. And I remember I felt kind of bad because I remember I talked to you and Mitch about it, but at the time when the process of Coach Davis leaving Childs, and that new coach coming in, like that's when Bristol came back to NFC, and off rip he offered me the JV job at NFC, and I was like this close of just going. And like at first I told him I was like, yeah, if I don't get hired like back, like I'm gonna go. And I remember the coach of Childs like offered me to asked me to stay, and I thought about it for a couple of days, and I just decided to stay at Childs because I had such a good relationship with the kids. It wasn't really nothing
hmm
against Bristol. Against Bristol. Like at first, I was like, man, I get to coach under Bristol. This is gonna be awesome. Like, but I was like, I just didn't want to leave the kids hanging like that,
hmm
and they've already been through a lot at the time. So that,
it's
and he
hard to
was he
walk
was a
away when you
little,
had a real connection like that.
yeah, it is, especially like it'd be one thing if I was going to like another city or moving, but like I would still be in the city like coaching against them, and I had the opportunity to stay, so I stayed. And he was a little upset about it first, but he understood. Like Bristol's
Mhm.
awesome. He said he's like he was a great influential coach for me too. He gave me a lot of confidence, and at a young age. And I remember this past season, like when I got hired. Like he was a great mentor for me, but like in the game, like he played me, man. He got me because we shared film like for like almost all of our opponents. Like he was like we were like each other's like film plug. Like, hey, you got so and so's film, like we send over. So we both sent each other like 4 or 5 games of film. So like he had the perfect game plan to stop us. Knew all our plays. Like on top of like he like there were some traps like like when you're like trying to get in a set and like as soon as like you think the option's gonna be there, like the option you want out of nowhere, like it's a turnover or like there's some like the defense gets a perfect trap. And that happened like 4 or 5 times. And I
It's
was
a trap
like,
they're only gonna know if they know exactly where you're going.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
like
they're
we're getting
never gonna
trapped
run
as
this trap again. Like
yeah,
stop.
like, we're getting trapped as soon as we get cross half court like perfectly, like happened like 3 or 4 times. But I mean, it was craziest thing too. Like when we were in high school when we played for Warhawks, remember like Coach Daly had his son, 5, 6 years old, warming up with us, sitting on the bench with us, and then this past season he cooked us both games. Like we had no end. He had like 25 in each game, and the game at Childs, the second game they beat us, he hit a step back fadeaway three over Jake. I'm talking about like Kobe style, caught it, one dribble, turn, fader, nothing but net. I'm just sitting there like, what? But I was like, part of me was upset because I'm the opponent, but the other part of me like, man, this is pretty cool. Like,
Yeah, cool
like
to
we
see
knew
this kid grow up.
yeah, we saw Junior grow up. But no, it was pretty cool. Like Brad beat me both times. The first game, like they just torched us by like 30. And the second game, NOC actually took us pretty lightly. I think because they were a little more talented than us because Junior's nephew, I don't know if you ever met not his nephew's cousin, excuse me, Coach Daly's nephew, Traylon was on the team as well. They were this sweet dynamic duo. Traylon's a wide receiver at West Virginia now. He's a 1,000-yard receiver last year. Freak athlete. They're both
Gosh.
6'4". Like they were like D Wade and LeBron out there throwing each other lobs. Like we had no answer for him. So, and the second game though, I made a few adjustments and we were in the game, and my team like went on this like fat scoring drought in the second half. We went like 7 minutes without scoring, ended up losing by 9, and I got yeah. So
Seven
like
minutes and you only lose by 9 is pretty
yeah, so I
crazy
was
though.
frustrated. I was like, man, like if we could have just like scored, we would have won. And like I got pretty mad at my team after both games. I think part of it because like I wanted to beat Bristol, but like
Yeah.
like at the same time like I knew how like close in that second game we were. But no, it was pretty cool like and surreal at the same time. Like seeing like your mentor, like guys that coach you, that a lot of stuff you're doing you've learned from him, and you're going against him. Like that's happened like a few times with me. Like went against Daly, went against Bristol, and also when I was a JV coach, went against Coach Moore, the president of Thunder, because he's now the JV coach of McClay. And those are probably the most intense for me as coaching against a former coach because it's McClay and Childs. Like
Yeah.
that's the biggest problem of all. And like we had some battles, and it got chippy at first going against Coach Moore because we're tight. And he's the one that got me plugged into coaching. So he's literally like my like mentor as coach. Like a lot of stuff I've got a few philosophies from him as well. That's something I definitely should have mentioned in your previous question.
It's
But
okay. There's
like
there's got to be too many
yeah,
to
no,
even
when
name.
you first
Playing your
asked,
whole
like
life,
my
there's too
mind went
many.
blank. There's like so many, and but the first 2 seasons when I was a JV coach, like we beat McClay both times, and like I wasn't talking much noise, but like a lot of people, like his parents and like his kid, like they were talking noise for me, like, and I was just like he was getting like heated, and like, I remember like the second season when we beat him like last time, like it got like he was getting really heated, like getting the refs, like trying to talk noise to me, and I was kind of like, man, I was like, do I talk noise back? I don't know,
Hmm.
but then he got us my last year the JV coach, and it was that was surreal too because like my story, my first year was at McClay coaching that sixth grade team. And those kids I coached in sixth grade, I was coaching against as a JV coach. And now this upcoming season, I'm gonna coach against them as the varsity coach. So that's
Oh,
kind of
that's
it
gonna
just
be
add
cool.
more tension to the rivalry. And I think it's
Hmm.
pretty cool, like this add more we've had a lot more tension to the Leon rivalry too. Like arguably now, like Charles and McClay is still like the rivalry, but like if you're talking about intensity and like beef, like Leon Childs is like
It's getting
arguably even
there.
more. Yeah, it's arguably even more now. Like just because I think part of it's because like not being trying to be selfish, but I did go to Leon, so there's that like stuff there, and like my kids know that. So like they and like even back when I was a JV coach, I think that boosted even more because Coach Davis was a former Leon coach. So like and the kids knew it. So like it was like a lot of animosity going into those games. And the first year, I know I'm getting a little off topic here, but the first year Coach Davis was the coach at Childs. I don't know if I ever told you this, but they played Leon, and Leon won the very first time that Coach Davis was the coach of Childs, and they matched up. And after the game, it was a huge brawl. The bench is cleared. 5 kids from both teams, 5, got suspended for throwing punches. And the rule in FHSAA is if you throw a punch on the court before, during, or after a game, automatic 6 weeks suspension. Yeah. So like main guys for both teams were suspended for 6 weeks. And it was wild. And but after that, I think after that like fight in that moment, like that game, like the rivalry just got boosted even more, and it's just like kind of been at that level ever since. Like you feel like it was always there, like when we were in high school playing, but like now it's like it's taken another level. Which I think it's great for the city though, man. It
Yeah,
really,
100%. I
like, it's
wanted to
really,
ask, what do you feel like are the, now that you've seen both sides, both from NFC when you were younger, Leon
Mhm.
when you were in high school, Childs now, what do you think is the biggest slash best rivalry in Tallahassee?
You said the best rivalry in Tallahassee.
Mm-hmm.
I would go with Rickers. Yeah, in basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just pure basketball. I would go with Rickers. Gotta be. I would think that's like I. I
They've
never,
got their I've seen a lot. They've made a lot of fantastic
yeah,
YouTube
it's
videos of their games.
oh my goodness, it's insane how many people come out to that game. Like you, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
get there on time for that game, you won't be able to get in because it's overcapacitated. At the one time I tried to go to a Rickers Gabi game, I got there a little late and I couldn't get in because it's overcapacitated. And I was just like, well, I guess I just watched the highlights on YouTube. But I'd say that still like holds the most like just like rivalry like biggest. But this past season, the most packed out games were Florida High and McClay because they were the 2 best teams. I remember for some reason Florida High didn't have an overcapacitated rule. They didn't do a max capacity because they definitely had more than they could hold in that gym. Because I went to the playoff game, there was nowhere to sit. Luckily I was a high school coach. I was able to stand like underneath one of the goals, but like
Mm-hmm.
you had the stands, the bleachers, and like that the area in each gym where people can stand, like you have room to stand. Each corner had like 40 to 50 people standing. Like, well,
That's
it was lit.
awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was lit, but it was just insane. Like that was the best rivalry last year for sure. Like Rickers and Gabi, they were solid teams last year, and they still like had their rivals have their packed out games for their rivalry games. But that was the rivalry last year. I think because I think it was so much people attending it too because McClay was kind of dethroning Florida High because ever since Charlie Ward took over Florida High, they just took over the city. I mean, he brought in guys from different states to come play. I mean, developed guys like Trey Donaldson, who's playing at Auburn now. Their point guard last year, Anthony Robinson, is going to be playing at Missouri this year. Like, they have like four or
It's
five
crazy.
guys playing Division 1, Division 2 ball right now that played for them the past 3 years. Like they've been loaded, and that's how good McClay was last year, and it was really cool to see that. But yeah, no, definitely Rickards and Godby. But
Okay.
I think
I just, you've got a unique perspective on it, like,
yeah, but I
because
would say like the
growing
Raptors.
up at Childs, I was like, I don't care, no one says it's Charles McClay. And then, like,
Yeah,
you go to one records and Godby game, and you're just like, no, this is this is something different.
no,
This is a different sport entirely.
yeah, no. But Charles McClay definitely, when Kamari was there, had a legit argument because the crowds were insane.
Hmm.
Like Kamari posted a couple throwbacks on his Instagram today of his dunks against McClay, and like some of my players saw it, and they were like amazed, starstruck. They were like, "Man, we didn't get crowds like that." Like the whole like student, I feel like almost the whole entire student body was like filled in that section
Yeah, just to
over
see
there.
just to see him, like,
Yeah,
he was a show. Like,
yeah,
I
and
truly wish I could have played with him when he was like dunking like that, because like he was
yeah,
he was really good as a freshman and sophomore, but he was not like
Yeah, he took it to another
I
level.
never threw him an alley oop, and I know like I would have threw him lobs left and right if I
Oh
would have
yeah.
seen him like that. Like,
Yeah, dude, his junior senior, anybody could throw him a lob, and it didn't matter
and
where you threw it either, and he's gonna go get it. But
he's
we
made
did have
Sports Center in college.
yeah in
He
college.
literally, like, to those of you who aren't listening, I'm trying to get Kamari, if you're watching this now, come on my show. We are This man was the college dunk contest winner this past year, so congratulations, Kamari.
Yeah,
Uh,
shout out to Kamar for sure.
Absolutely, like, when we're not just talking about just some Joe Schmo that we know. This dude was catching bodies when he was like 15 years old.
Yeah, no, you definitely catch a body on anybody for sure.
Um, so if you had the ability to clone yourself, and now you have the chance to coach 17-year-old Eli Phillips, what's going to be the first thing you say to yourself?
Hmm. Definitely, I'm gonna push myself harder in the weight room a little bit. Not saying I did live, but there were times I've slacked a little bit to be real.
Mm,
But definitely would definitely would talk myself more of the mental side of the game because that's the main thing I've really been able to help. I feel like as a young coach, help kids is really relates into the mental side because I can see the frustration sometimes. Like you miss two, three shots in a row, and you know you make that shot in your sleep, or you had a bad game, or something like messes with your confidence. And like basketball and all sports are so much about your mental psyche and
mm,
how much you can stay in a moment and move on to the next play. So I think like being able to like stay in my ear about hey like it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to have a turnover or like miss a shot or miss an assignment on defense, you can literally just get it back the next play. And I think that would have helped my 17-year-old self-confidence a lot. Not saying I wasn't confident, I was confident myself, but I think at times I was really hard at myself because I knew like for my size, my stature, and I wasn't that athletic, my margin of error was short. Like and for me to be successful against the guys, the Kamari Browns, the Twins, from Gabi, the more athletic guys of the world, in the hooping world, like I knew like I had to be on point with what I did. So and that's what a lot of people like. You see a lot of like people in sports like dealing with mental health more than ever nowadays. And I think that's really where I feel like I've been able to help these kids I coach is like the mental side, like developing that relationship with them first, building their trust. I think that means a lot to these kids nowadays. I know you can relate to that. Like having that when a kid like really trusts you and believes in you as a coach, like
mm-hmm.
they will listen to anything you tell them. Like they will literally run through a brick wall for you. And when you have that feeling, like that gives you confidence to coach, but that really you can really relate to them and like you can see when they're struggling or like when they're down on themselves, and you can just pick them right back up in that moment. And I think I could have definitely helped myself out with that.
Yeah,
What
100%.
about you?
Shoot the damn ball. That's what I would say to me. Gosh, shoot the damn ball. Like, oh my goodness. Like, there are so many times I haven't seen a high school game of myself in a few years just because I don't have access to it anymore. But I remember when I first started watching it, my games like after I graduated and like I'd play like pickup like in like rec leagues and I'd be like, oh my gosh, here being 6'4" is not a hindrance. It is oh my god, you're the tallest player on the court. You know, my
Right.
senior year, um, I got switched over to play center, and not
Yeah.
one game out of the 30 however many we played was the center
Mhm.
that we played against shorter than me. Not one
Mhm.
time. And playing rec league, I'm like, oh my gosh, I am just
Yeah,
looking
you
like
can
I'm feeling like
body some kids.
Shaq. Like, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like if I had shot the ball, like I might have done something. Like I might have been all right. Like,
Yeah.
and I feel like just trying the expression like they'll never care how much you know until they know how much you care. Like really like
Mm.
was like deeply embedded into me this year. Like I that was like the first thing I did when I started at this school. I was trying to interact with as many kids as I could and get to know them and like get a feel for
Yeah.
them. And it got to a point where they were actually like, "Coach, like you can be a little harder on us." And then I was like, "Oh, like here we're at this juncture that like I've been we've established a good enough like relationship because we were a really good team. Like, we finished 13-6. It wasn't like we were losing games.
That's
We didn't
good.
lose a single game at home the whole year. We won by like 20 points a game every game at home. And they're just like,
That's
you can be harder on us. And I was like, okay, like we're at a good spot here because that's not always the vibe that I got from my coaches when I was playing. Like I did not like Guru very much. Coach McWilliams. Like he and I got into it on more than one occasion. Like
yeah.
he would snap at me about something silly, and then I would be like, "Come on, man! Like these
Yeah.
guys are
Not
6'8". Like I don't got much. I don't got much.
right. Not
I
much
don't
you
got a
can
lot of choices
do.
here. I'm
I'm trying
struggling.
my
Like
best.
yeah, like
I promise you, I'm
there.
trying.
Our front line was me, Kamari, who at the time who's like he's college dunk contest winner. He's yoked up now, but that time he was 14, 15 years old, 6'2", super skinny, and then Brett,
Hmm.
who phenomenal ball player, very well built, well stacked, but he's like 6 foot. Like so, our front line
Right.
is 6 foot, 6'2", and barely 6'4". So
Right.
we struggled quite a bit. Um, all
Yeah.
right,
Nice.
so what is this is like the last question I like to ask everybody in my
Mhm.
interviews. What is one conspiracy theory you believe to be true?
Just in general,
Could
anything.
be anything.
All right. I'm a Christian man,
Okay.
but I believe in aliens.
I like it. So what do you think
Yeah.
about this the whistleblower in Congress a few weeks ago? They're like, we've definitely the government has access to like old alien ships, old alien bodies.
Sorry, my computer broke up for a second. What was your question?
Oh, what did I say? Did you see the guys who testified in front of Congress a few weeks ago about
Oh, I
aliens?
did.
What do
I
you think
did.
about
I
that?
did. Yeah, I think that took a lot of balls for them to do. First of all, like
Mm-hmm.
convincing them, but I mean, I don't know. I've always believed like there's. I'm the type of guy I believe there's aliens on other planets. But after seeing that kind of almost changed my perspective even more. Maybe like because I was type like I believe in aliens, but at the same time, there's always that one part of me that'd be like, "Do you really though?" Like, you know what I mean? But no, after seeing that, I kind of like slip. I'm like, okay, I think the government is kind of hiding something here.
Yeah, I when I first was reading about it, I was like, I'm like, I because I really want aliens to be true, but like I'm really weary of like anything I like see or read because it's just like it could be anything. Um,
Yeah.
and one of the guys speaking, David Fravor, he had like a super famous UFO incident in like 2004 that came out a few years ago, and he like has talked about it a few times since. And I've actually had a Mike O'Dowd was a former pilot in flew in Desert Storm. I had him when he was on my show. We talked about that Tic Tac video that David Fravor saw, and
Mhm.
I am absolutely well. I don't say I'm absolutely certain. I believe at least that was either like some human technology that like is like so advanced that like we don't really the regular citizen doesn't know about, or it was like something from somewhere else. And when I saw
Mhm.
that he was there, I was like, oh my god, like this might be this might be legit.
This is it. Yeah, for real.
I want it to be true so bad. I want it like I
Yeah, no,
want
me
aliens
too.
to be around.
Like I'm just waiting for that like one video of like live footage of an alien on Mars or something like that, you
Yeah.
know?
I had this dude that came into work that came into my job the other day, like completely psyched me out though. He was like, have you ever thought of like the possibility that like the government is like slowly now this is like deep conspiracy, Dom. Like I'm not gonna like I don't
Hmm.
say I believe this, but like this is what like somebody said and it's like got like the gears turned in my brain. Like imagine like the government has like this like technology that's like that makes anything that we think they have like look primitive, like flying like at like insane speeds, like a super souped up drone, and like they don't want people to know that we have it, but like surveillance technology is getting so good now, it's like hard to like not see it, and they're just
Right.
like, yeah, maybe aliens are around. That's why you're seeing all these things. Maybe it's aliens. And I'm like,
Maybe it's aliens.
if that was true, I I don't know what would be the bigger conspiracy. Like if the government's been hiding aliens, or if the fact that like they're like these dinguses are just gonna think that aliens are real. If we're like, yeah, they could be real.
Yeah. Or like, I don't know, sometimes I have like stupid intrusive thoughts where I look at like celebrities or like people say like clones and I look at them like, what are the governments disguising them as an alien? But
have
I'm
you
like,
se-
nah, I don't even
have
know
you
if
seen
that.
that
Oh,
video of the girl who like she was yelling about the guy who's not real on the plane? It
I
was
did
like
not see that.
it's like super like viral. Like a few months ago, she like was on this plane, is having this like what looks like a nervous breakdown. She's like, "There's this dude in the back of the plane. He's not even real. I'm getting off." And like she's screaming, yelling, whatever. No one sees anything about it for months, and then she comes
Uh-huh.
like there's this video like last week or the week before, and she is, or it's this person claiming to be her, and they're talking, and she's wearing like a whole bunch of makeup, and she doesn't really look like her. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, if it like, why would it be somebody that's not her? Like, why would they fake being her? But then I'm like, why does she
Yeah,
look so much not like her? Like, she
different.
does not look
Yeah,
like her at all. I'm gonna send you
and
I'm gonna text it into the group chat after this and see
yeah,
what you guys
please send
think.
that.
But I don't think she looks like her at all, and I'm just like, but why would
Did
they
she
fake
have
it?
makeup on in the video? You know,
You can't really tell.
you
It's not like a
can't really tell.
not like a
Okay.
super close video, but like she's like not even
Yeah.
like the same shade. Like she
Mm.
doesn't like does not look
A little
similar at all. And
sus.
I'm not the only person who doesn't think she looks like the same person.
Okay, okay. That's a little suspect.
Um so we're at this like point in the year where like things are starting to like ramp up. Basketball's getting ready to come around. School's just starting. What's the expectations for this upcoming year?
For us, a child's right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, what I keep telling everybody asking me that, and my boys, my players, is we just got to take that next step because I know when I took over, I kind of looked at it as not a rebuild. I've just been calling a building of a program trying to take, my end goal is trying to take child's basketball to a place it's never reached before, like success wise and like off the court stuff too. I really emphasize like culture stuff, like the little things, like being good people, being good teammates. So, but as expectation for us, like it's just to be better than what we were last year. Schedule's about finalized, so I haven't made specific like wins goals, but I really could see us if we play to our potential with what we got, like being a 15, 20 win team. I really believe that. We had a solid summer. I had I had two, three guys that hit five or plus threes in multiple different games. So we have guys that can shoot the ball. I have guys that can pass, dribble, guys that can defend. I have hustle players. I have one kid. Freaking love this kid. He's my captain. Took 6 charges in one game at FSU team camp. Like he's just an absolute dog. And
That's
it's
insane.
funny you mentioned how like you said you were 6'4" and you played against guys in the city that were taller than you. If you were 17 right now playing for me, you would not only be probably the tallest guy on my team, but you'd be like top 5 tallest in the city, man. Like it's crazy how the height has changed in Tallahassee. I
That's
feel like
that's
skill wise,
that's
like
bonkers.
it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. Like 'cause it used to be every school had a 6'7", 6'8" big.
Hmm.
There's I think the tallest guy like in the whole city is like 6'6", 6'7", and there's only like one or two of them. It's I would say the skill wise, like guard play is about the same level. Now you still have guys the shot making ability, you still have like hoopers, but there's not like the freakishly tall guys. That so because I look at our team like we're undersized. We are like my center is this 6'2", 6'3" senior. Is an absolute beast on the boards. I call him Rodman. He's the type of guy who'll give you 2 points, but will give you like 12, 13 rebounds. He's gonna use all 5 of his fouls. Like, and he sets great
That's what
screens.
we like to
But he's
hear.
every bit but he's every bit of 6'2", 6'3". But when we went up against those 6'7", 6'8" bigs over the summer, he held his own. He held his own. So I'm really think we have a good chance to have some success. But I'm also pleased and excited for the whole city to like really take another step, because a lot of people like our age and older, they do talk bad about Tallahassee high school basketball for part of the reason because of the hype, but they also say it's not the same, like it's not as good. But like I'm around all these kids and like there's hoopers like at all schools, so I'm really excited to like see all the schools put their talent on display, and there's good coaches. And I actually did, I don't know, I think I haven't told you and Mitch, but Coach Bristol did leave NFC.
Oh no, I did not know that at all.
Yeah, he had a tough falling out with NFC. It was a long story, a lot went into it, but now he's actually coaching at an even better school. He's coaching at Grace Christian in
Oh, that's
Georgia.
where. Oh my gosh, that's a super small world. Do you remember Noah Thomas?
Yeah,
When Noah left Childs my
that's right. That's where
senior
he went.
year, that's
That's
exactly
where.
where he went. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That school is really good now. They won state last year.
What?
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to text Noah that. That's awesome.
yeah. No, so yeah. Shout out Brad. And also too, like it was crazy like seeing Daniel like evolve too. Because like when we were like playing for him, Daniel was literally a
Yeah,
baby.
he was in like he was on the baby Warhawks teams, like the fifth grade
Yeah,
younger teams, like. And
well,
I
that,
saw
that was
he
Dante.
he
I'm talking
he.
about. That
Oh,
was the
I'm
middle one,
thinking
Dante. I'm talking
Dante.
about. Yeah, Dante's in college now. He played 2 years of JUCO and he didn't end up playing after that. I'm talking about the youngest, Daniel, like
Mm,
actual baby. Like
hmm.
he's in 10th grade now, and like he's a hooper. He's only
Okay.
like 5'7", 5'8", but he is a dog. Like last year, he played on JV and like he gave us like 20 twice. Like
Mm,
just tough layups. Like he's not even that great of a shooter. If he can get a consistent jump shot, I could see him playing at the collegiate level, even with like his lack of height. But like it's so crazy as like since I've coached and played in the same area, just like seeing like kids I knew when back when we were in high school like grow up to now, and like this being like so ingrained in like this community is like it's really special. And
yeah.
even last year's team like will always hold such a special place in my heart, because my very first year, my like back in like 2017 when I helped coach that assistant coach that Thunder team, a couple kids that were on that team were a couple of my seniors on last year's Child's varsity team, and like
Wow.
that, like yeah, that was really made me emotional. I think like
Yeah.
they
Makes you
like
feel old too.
it makes me feel old, yeah. But like they like I saw them grow up, but they saw me grow up too, in
Hmm.
a sense, as a coach and as a man too. Thanks. So
And they're
yeah,
like, I remember when you used to have your mother give you rides to practice, coach.
yeah, no,
Don't,
literally, like
don't.
yeah, literally. So yeah, but yeah, no, I'm really excited for the season, man. I have a great group of kids. That bought in. They get along well. So just hoping we can just play on the court, man. Make alma maters like you proud, bro.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You guys already are, already are. When you started coaching there, I was truly hoping that you would be the head coach one day. I really
Yeah,
was, and
yeah,
it's
nah,
been absolutely awesome to see how well that you've done in the time that you've been there. And I'm looking
man,
forward to this next season.
I
And
appreciate it, man.
hopefully, hopefully, it's looking like I probably won't be at the same school I was at this last year.
Oh, really?
Hopefully, I can. Yeah, we're going to talk about that later. We're going to
Oh,
talk about that all over the podcast. I'm not speaking of bad breakups with Coach Bristol and NFC. Um,
yeah, yeah,
I, I I hope I can get to a big school sometime soon, so we can get some battles going on. Because I was really trying to get us to get a scrimmage this year. Like I really wanted
yeah.
it.
I would have been down. We played a lot of games over summer. We probably played about 30 games.
It's ideal.
And we did we
Truly
didn't do
ideal.
too much traveling, but we
Do you have
traveled
a
a
lot of
little bit.
kids that do multiple sports? We've got like everybody on the team that does multiple sports, so it's
Luckily, I
so hard to
don't.
get kids in the summer.
Yeah, luckily I don't. Only I got lucky with it too. My only two sport athlete is literally my leading scorer from well, my returning leading scorer. My
Hmm.
two leading scorers last year were seniors. My third leading scorer is wide receiver for the football team, and his main sport is basketball. So he prioritizes basketball over football. So I really don't run into any issues. One of my JV guards is a soccer player, which that may be an issue because in
Yeah, those
Florida
games
soccer and
are.
basketball. It's the
Yeah.
same season. So hopefully I don't lose them. But no, luckily I don't really run into that issue. Like my commitment, like that's what's been inspiring for me. Is I'm sure you can adjust to some kids at Childs, like when you were there, weren't that committed. But like I have a committed group. Like a lot of my kids are really passionate about basketball, and I have like at least 10 kids in my program that told me they want to pursue playing at the next level. So
That's awesome.
it's
Truly awesome to have
inspiring.
that much buy-in. We struggle
Yeah,
to
no,
have kids show up to practice. That's
yeah, and that's step one. You gotta show up, right?
yeah. You gotta show
Like,
up.
yeah, you
They're
gotta
like,
at least show
coach,
up.
coach, the chess club has this going on today. I can't make it to practice. Just
But
okay.
that's funny though. Some of the kids do be having the craziest reasons for not making practices, like haircuts, like
I got
like
told.
the most brand, like gotta go like do something with their parents. Like it's some of the be smell like a lie sometimes, but some of them actually be like legit, like these silly reasonings they can't make practice. Like definitely a different time. Like it's
I
crazy like how much has changed in these past 7 years
mhm.
since 7, 8 years when we were in high school. Like it really doesn't feel like that much long of a time, but I think COVID had a little bit to do with it too. But like a lot has changed. Like these kids have been, you know, been exposed. That's what I'm looking for. Sorry to so much. Like I couldn't imagine how we could have been if we had to go through COVID, bro.
Yeah, yeah, that would not have been. I could not imagine going through COVID
Like, yeah,
if I was 16 years old. That's for sure.
yeah, like these kids had to go through it. And I mean,
Mhm.
TikTok, like, well, I feel like Vine is almost like TikTok. You know, Vine was like 6 seconds, but like TikTok is like,
I don't know. I feel
man,
like
TikTok
kids are like on TikTok like all day. I feel like, and I wasn't.
all day. It's
Maybe other kids were on Vine all day, but I was not on Vine all day.
no, not like this. Not like
Yeah,
this. Yeah, it's like crazy. But yeah, no, it's cool, man. Well, hope you get picked up somewhere, man. If you ever want to
yeah,
move
yes,
back to
sir.
Tallahassee,
I think like maybe this is like a season that like I'm off, and then like I get my teaching certificate in the spring, and then like I'm just out of
there you
school
go.
because like I my biggest like the school wants me back. I need more money than what they're trying to give me, and that's just I've got
I
to be
hear
able
you.
to live, and if I can't live on whatever, and I'm not working an awful schedule again. This last season was I'd wake up at like 4 in the morning to go to work from like 5 to 1, and then get to practice at 2, and then or get to the school at 2, and then if we have like a game or something like that, you're not getting back into your house until like 11, and
Hmm.
that's an
You gotta do it all
absolutely
over
awful day
again.
for like 4 months. Like I remember in
Whew.
like March, April, like just still feeling my body like recovering. My brain was not my brain was not where it needed to
Yeah, no,
be. I was like
I hear
I
you.
can't do this again.
Yeah, doing that turnaround after game days during the week, especially home games. Like that's one thing. Like I learned quick as a head varsity coach last year. Like man, I see why like head varsity coaches like be envying their home games sometimes. Like, because at first I was like, man, like love home games, but then like you got to put everything up. Like you got to make sure everybody's good. You got to lock everything up. You don't get home like you said till like 11 o'clock, and then by then you got to wake back up in the morning. Only
Yeah.
get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and go back at it
That's
again.
before you even watch the dang film. Like
Yeah, I'm
you
saying, then
haven't
you
even.
gotta study film. You gotta schedule for practice the next day. Like it's the grind is real, man.
Just like we
I
can't
mean,
make a freaking free throw, so we got to spend at least 20 minutes on free throws of practice today. We're blowing too many
yeah,
layups. Now I gotta.
yeah.
Oh, and I'm telling you, like, in the first hour after I would get home from a game, my brain is still just like
Oh yeah.
remembering every second of the game, and
Yeah,
can't wind
you're thinking
myself
of
down.
every play, thinking of what you
Mm-hmm.
could have differently, like
Like, why
subs,
can't we get the ball out of
adjustments.
the damn corner?
Yeah. Why are we
Ugh.
going to use the icons?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
my kids this year were like so overly aggressive. Like we would have to like actively, and that's a good problem to have. I'd much rather
it
them be
is.
over aggressive than under aggressive, but we would run this 1-3-1 half court trap, and the wings either were like I don't I don't know what the deal was. They would either be super late or they would just like absolutely like abuse whoever passed half court to get on their side. And we just there were some games the refs would not call it at all, and we would just like we played. I don't remember what the name of the school was now, but we started one game up 32-1 because we just took it from them like every single time down. And our athletic director comes over to me and he's like, Coach Mills, can you stop with the press? And I was like, we're not passing half court. Like this is we're
Yeah,
in the half court.
exactly.
I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know
a
what you,
half court press.
I
Like,
don't like we're just super aggressive trapping, and
yeah,
I figured out if I put like my most athletic player in the front of it, like he was just gonna like referees were just gonna let him do like whatever he wanted to. So I just did that like every single game, and that was
yeah. One
probably
three
like
one is
half
a
of our
tricky.
points.
Yeah, 1-3-1 is a tricky defense in high school. I love running the 1-3-1. Like it's because it kind of forces the other team to like be like smart with what they do. But I mean,
Yeah,
it does have its weak points, like the weak side, the corner. But if you rotate
you
right, you got an
yeah,
athletic guy up top that's active, you can
and
definitely cause some
and
havoc.
if a team's gonna beat it, they gotta have like three guys who really know what they're doing. If they've only got like one or
Yeah,
two, like you can just
yeah,
like
you're
get
not
rid
gonna
of him
have
and
one
make him like
guy.
not do anything. But like,
Yeah, you're not gonna have one guy dribble through all of it and like
yeah,
score on his
like,
own. So you gotta have like three guys. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
All right, man.
they're
This is we're looking at 12:04 a.m. right now. We've been on for a little over an hour and a half. This is probably going to be the longest interview I've done in quite a while. I could talk all day.
yeah,
Basketball.
no, I definitely could. And we both gotta be up early in the morning.
Yeah. So you know what? We're gonna stop this now. We're gonna definitely have to do this again sometime soon, like maybe a mid-season check-in or like a preseason check-in. See how
Yeah,
you're doing. All right.
for
Is there anything
sure.
you want to plug or anything before we go?
Nah, man. Shout out to you, bro. Really appreciate you having me on, man. I love the Childs jack you got on. I got a pink
Yeah, I was
Childs
gonna
shirt
say
on.
I wanted to rep. We dropped some weight and we fit into this today, and I was
There you
like, oh,
go. There you
that's
go.
nice. That's nice.
That's crucial nowadays. That's
Yeah.
awesome, though, bro. But yeah, no, man, I appreciate you, man. It's always nice chopping up with you, man. And I love your podcast. You're doing great things with it, bro. And wish you nothing but the best, man.
Yes,
Definitely
sir. You too. Go
looking forward to talking to
Child.
you soon. Sure, appreciate it, bro.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Dominic Mills Podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to leave a 5-star rating or a review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you can, please give the show a follow on Instagram and TikTok at the Dominic Mills Podcast. Now that's all for me. Make sure to stay safe and stay curious.